All right, happy Friday. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. We gave you the day off from Red Sox Now, which is presented by Fan Arch. I did post a I advise you, you must not only subscribe to this channel, but when I comment, you notice it's Mike Antonellis Media. That is my personal YouTube page, which has a good list of subscribers. We're almost at 5,000 over there. We're over 2,300 here. But I did a Red Sox video for Thanksgiving, and I hope it was an awesome holiday with family, friends, whatever you were able to do. I'm so thankful for all of you, guys and gals. We have a terrific community here, so I appreciate it so much. And we get back at it today here on Black Friday. How many? I felt like it was yesterday around, was it 4 or 5, when my emails were flooded with Black Friday deals. Crazy. I'm sure all of you. We don't have any Black Friday deals. We just have an episode of Red Sox Now. And if you could subscribe, comment, and like the channel, we appreciate it. At the Radio Mike is the social handles. Getting a lot of you following me on other platforms, which is fantastic. I recognize all of you. I have Discord. You can message me if you want to get that link. Let's get going. The Jays counter. For first time watching, by the way, sidebar is what we do. The last is your comments. The Jays, they counter the Red Sox. And, you know, it's interesting. Do some of you like this? I'm sure some do, some don't, which I get. I watched about 3 to 4. I talked about this on the show. 3 to 4 Dylan Cease starts last year because I could not understand his ERA. I looked into it more, too. 2 games he gave up 6 runs, and he gave up a 9er. Impossible to, really lower. I feel like, are we not at that point? I feel like with more on our hands now, with the internet, we've not become smarter at times. You know, when I saw that Sonny Gray's, a bunch of people were tweeting out Sonny Gray's record at Fenway, which is the most ridiculous tweet I've seen on social media, because all of those starts are against the Red Sox. How does that correlate? Oh, well, he can't pitch at Fenway. That's not the case. He has a 6.44 career ERA at Fenway. 5 of those 7 games that Gray pitched in, he gave up 2 runs or less. All he had to do was, that's all he did, was go look up his day by day. And, you know, everyone runs to he's not good. He's not good. No, Dylan Cease is really good. Do you think the Toronto Blue Jays would invest in a guy like, let's just use some common sense. They're in the baseball business, right? Like, they got a huge team of people that have scouted him in person. I don't think Toronto would hand over $218 million to a guy that they thought, that they just looked up his ERA on the internet. This is a solid top of the rotation guy that Toronto needs. I give them all the credit. Red Sox, I tried, but that's too much. They should have gone high. I mean, they probably would have had to go 240. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect? So here's how I look at it. Here are the numbers I like. Simple numbers, rational numbers, common sense numbers. And I was talking to my dad about this yesterday. I don't want to hear your thoughts on this. And I'm not fabricating anything. 30 teams, 5 starters. How many do you think are upper rotation? Cease is, in terms of pitch mix, and I here's another great example of a upper rotation guy. If Dylan Cease went out and threw 5 to 6 hitless innings, no one would be shocked. If Sonny Gray did it, I think so. Bale, maybe a little bit. Good sinker. Sinker ball guys are going to give up more hits. But Cease has incredible swing and miss, 4 or 5 pitch repertoire, still throws hard. He can give you, he can go out any night and probably throw a hitless appearance. Anyways, opening day, 30 teams, 5 starters, 150 starters. How many do you think are upper rotation? 90? I don't think so. 30? No, that's probably too low. We're talking about dominant guys, swing and miss, 4 or 5 pitch, high level guys. 50, 60? Let's go 60. It might not even be 60. But let's just do that for the sake of this argument. 60. How many of those can you get realistically? I don't know. A lot of those really, really good guys are locked up, right? You have one. Skeen, Skubal, those guys have been untouchable for years. Garrett Cole, Fried, Rodon, Luis Heel. Heel won Rookie of the Year. You look around the league. And my point is this. It's just like real estate. That position, starting pitcher, cut it down to top of the rotation type of guys. They're scarce. And that you have to pay a tax. It's just like I live in Massachusetts here. Everybody complains about the housing market. What do you want to do? They're getting it. It's a small state with some of the best schools, with some of the best medical. You're near the ocean. So, it's exactly like real estate. Beachfront property. Yes, you're paying for a premium because of what you get. So, the amount of brushback from this, even from Blue Jay fans, what do you think is going to happen to get one of these guys? Now, you can debate whether he's one of those guys, but you had a bunch of teams in the end trying to do that. Toronto, when we look at, I want to spend a little time with Toronto. I'll get to the Red Sox. Kevin Gausman is their ace. I don't think he's ace. Is he as dominant? Like, is he in the crochet scheme? No. Chris Bassett, nice pitcher, more of a command guy. Berrios, same thing, nice guy, right? Nice. You think of what they went out with last year. Got to the World Series, almost won it. Gausman, Bassett, Berrios, Scherzer was hurt. Eric Lauer, they like more as a reliever. Francis got hurt, but he was having a bad year. They needed to bring in Shane Bieber. Yasevich was in low A, and he pitched in the World Series. So what does it tell you about the Blue Jays? A lot of people love their rotation. This surprised a lot of people. Does not surprise me at all. They were just in the World Series and realized, you know what? We still need to be better. We just faced a team that had 4 number ones. Glasnow, Snell, Yamamoto, and Ohtani. Those are 4 legit upper rotation pitchers. So I think the move was fantastic. But it shows you the cost, and I still don't think some of us get that. So when we segue to the Red Sox, and we want Peralta and we want these other guys, what do you think that's going to cost you? 4, 5 players. Skubal will be easily north of $300 million, easily. As much as I like Cease, he's not in the same category as Skubal. But do you see where it gets difficult? We want a lot of these things to happen. I talked about this last week. You have to temper your expectations. I understand they're the Boston Red Sox. Somebody put a list of, the owners, their worth yesterday, and there's a lot of small market teams in that top 10, including the Illiches, who I've picked on, and Cleveland and Milwaukee. Those guys are all worth billions. Milwaukee's ready to cut payroll. But Framber Valdez, I would think, would be more money than Cease. It all depends on what organizations think, too. But it's not surprising to me, one bit. And if you want, an offseason of Skubal, Alonso, Bregman, and all, I understand, the side of it, you have the money. I do. But you can't spend $800 to $900 million on 3 players. It's just not smart. and that might be a fabrication, but Skubal definitely is going to be, let's just say 300. And Bregman and Alonso they're going to cost you 300. So you spend 600 million on three guys. Yeah, I get they have the money, but I don't know if that's. I would take two of that. I would take Skubal and Bregman in a heartbeat. But I don't know if that's feasible now, because we're seeing what. Yeah, now I was surprised at what. I was surprised and then I wasn't. I was surprised that it was that happened so fast with the Blue Jays, and that there were a lot of teams in that market for him. But you got to think of where Toronto is. John Heyman. By the way, John liked a tweet that I had. So I was like, wow. I know John a little bit. I met him in spring training a few times. He's well connected with Boris. He reported that the Red Sox were targeting Kyle Schwarber in free agency. Now, we know Alex Cora loves him for a multitude of reasons. Now, we look beyond the box score, beyond the back of the baseball card. Is he as good a hitter as Pete Alonso? Probably not in terms of average. You're going to get all of that same stuff, right? The strikeouts, but he could hit 50 home runs. And I do agree with the side, that says, listen, we like the other things that players bring, right? The X factor, but they still have to be good. He is. And I think it's important, and I think Pete Alonso can play here because he's played in New York. I'm not worried about that. But you have evidence. I mean, you have history with this guy. That's huge. It's huge. When Cora is selling Breslow and John Henry on Alex Bregman, it was a lot of that other stuff too. I mean, Bregman no doubt could play third. But you still have to, when you're making an investment, there still has to be that other part. Hey, is this worth? Now, with Bregman, it wasn't as long-term as, and Schwarber might not be as long-term either. But there's still that part of the discussion is makeup. We've already seen that with this team. And more people are talking about the stuff with Devers, that it got to that point where it was unrepairable, where he had to go. So they have a relationship with this guy. He is a terrific, terrific teammate. Guy was in tears at the end of their last game. He will unify the whole team. You need guys like this. You do. It's a big reason we're seeing a lot of these veterans, Cease, Gray, to help a young staff. Toronto's got a young staff, somewhat young. I mean, Gausman's not young. But I like someone like this because of what, love playing here. Cora knows him. So Schwarber's one, Pete Alonso, Okamoto, Japanese infielder, and JT Realmuto, as well as Bregman. So, Heyman also says that likely means the Red Sox are done adding impact arms to their starting rotation. We'll see. I talked about this last week. Craig Breslow is not going to announce his playbook to everybody. Yes, we still need another starting pitcher. I know he did the whole thing 3 through 10, but I think that's still part of the negotiation. And throwing that out, he's a smart guy. You can't come off desperate. You just close the book. Because you have pieces, and I've talked to a bunch of people on other organizations that say the Red Sox have a lot that teams want. So just think about this with a little bit of rationale and common sense and patience, which none of us have in New England. He's not going to commit to somebody's demands November 28th. Doesn't have to. They are definitely targeting Joe Ryan and Scooble and others. Trust me on this. The asking price is going to be absurd right now. And they're working at other things. They can circle back with teams, but I don't believe that report. He's a pitcher. What has he been strengthening the organization on? I don't think he's done with that. That's just a lot of people assuming things. He's not come out and said that we're done. And even if he did, I don't believe it. You have to. The coaches on the podium for the NFL give you their playbook. This is a playbook. There are certain things that GMs throw out. Did anyone know Toronto was in the mix? They didn't say a word about this. And throwing this out there, this is good. So other teams see the Red Sox are, Detroit sees them going after position players. This is part of it. I've talked to JP Ricciardi about this a numerous amount of times. I asked him. He's a former big league GM. I said, does this? He's like, absolutely. We throw all kinds of stuff out there. We have to. He said Billy Beane did stuff all the time. He would throw things out there, and then you'd see the phone calls. Ironically, they throw all kinds of stuff through the press. They have to do that. And I want them to do that. Oh, yes, we need a number two. We need a number two right now. No. So this will be fun to see what happens going forward. Will you be disappointed if it was Schwarber and, let's say, Okamoto and not Bregman and Alonso? I might be a little bit. I don't discredit Okamoto at all. I just feel like for a team that you're trying to win a World Series, I don't want an unknown here. He's 29. His numbers are really good. He's really good defensively. I want more of a sure thing. And the counter argument to me is, well, what if you sign Bregman in him and he plays first base? Yeah. It's still going to cost you a lot of money. And if they evaluate that they think he's the better player, but I can see the side from a fan, from your point of view, saying, well, first base was not really that strong. Like, how could we do any worse? I don't always like that argument because it's still an unknown to me. And listen, he could end up being an all-star. I think that's a good move for a team that's close to a playoff spot. That's why I think Yoshida was signed a few years ago. They were kind of trying to rebuild. But you're kind of you're at World Series mode. So I would rather, personally, this is what I would do. And I know it won't be the most popular thing. I would try to get Scooble because the Tigers are desperate. They do want to move him. That I know. I think he's worth the money. $300-400 million. I would do that in Bregman and JT Realmuto. That would be what I would rather do. Realmuto can play first base. And if you kept Wong and you had 3 catch, Realmuto is a hell of a player still. And I know his numbers are not. Listen, I get it. And he's older. We're looking to short term. He could still play. He could be your first baseman at times. You could play Wong at other positions. It gives you flexibility late in games. I just think that he would be a huge huge mentor to two young catchers. But I don't think that will be the most popular thing, which I understand. But I look at it like Skubal changes things, and I'm dreaming a little bit here too, but he changes things to me dramatically more than a bat. Dramatically. Crochet, Skubal, Gray, Bayo, and Connolly Early is really damn good. And then a ton of, you might have to give up. Maybe you do have to give up Early or Tolley, obviously, in a big league player. That changes your whole... That makes the Red Sox World Series favorites easily to me. Or up there. Top 3 easily. You saw what one guy did to your... Right? Crochet basically changed your whole... Can you imagine having another one? But more of the talk is the two bats done with pitching. I'd rather do Skubal and then even smaller position players. Honestly. You look at it like this. As much as I like Schwarber or Alonso, do we not think you could find 35 home runs, 150 strikeouts? You could, but listen, those guys are really good, and they would change your club as well, and I know that, but I just would rather have that. That to me would be more moving the needle, more exciting. Imagine having Crochet and Skubal. Can you imagine that? Especially now in the division you're in. The Yankees are still stacked. They're getting Garrett Cole back. Cole, Rodon, Fried, Schlittler, Luis Heel. That's as good as any rotation in baseball, if not the best. Really? You think? Yes. Those are 3 aces right there. Heel was Rookie of the Year. Schlittler could be. I mean, those are all 1s and 2s. That's why Toronto's doing what they're doing. That's why the Red Sox brought in Gray. Vinny Capra, who I've seen a lot of. Just the minor league move. The Red Sox, you need players in AAA. You need guys that have a glove. He can play everywhere. He's a veteran. I saw a lot of him in AA. Really good defender. He came up with the Blue Jays, with Milwaukee and Chicago last year. Played in Charlotte for most of the year. But he is just another depth piece. If they have some injuries and they need someone short-term in the big leagues, he can play everywhere, every position. And you need these guys in AAA. So he'll be one of those veteran guys that you need to have. Good guy, too. Interacted with him when he was in New Hampshire back in 19. Really good guy. And that's when we see some of these moves, you have to remember that you need to play games in AAA. So you need to bring in like Jason DeLay, Vinny Capra will be in AAA, and you're going to be young. Tristan Gray. Those are all like guys, Oswaldo Berrios, who they just got. You need to have, like they call 4A guys. You sprinkle in some of that because it's going to be a young team in AAA, which is completely changing. That level used to be all veterans. Now it's more young guys sprinkled in with veterans. We didn't do a show on Thanksgiving. At Coach the Ghosts. Love the handle. I know you're new. What you said at 14 minutes, this was Wednesday's show talking about, I believe you meant deadline move. And I did, yeah. Sounds like the Joe Ryan situation, but if it gets done this winter, I wouldn't be mad at all if it ends up being our lineup. I was saying that the Sonny Gray thing was definitely a move they tried to make at the deadline. I don't think that just poof happened. From what I have been told, the Joe Ryan thing got ridiculous at the deadline from the Twins, which it should have. You have to understand something else about all of these moves. The baseball executives, presidents/GMs in place, don't have guarantee they'll be there long. They have, at times, a different vision. Right? The owner's always going to be there. The manager will be there longer than you. If you're a general manager or president, and it's not even going to matter if the Tigers don't give him full autonomy or they say, listen, just do what you can. You still could get fired from that. These GMs that have pieces like, and it seems like it's always the smaller markets because they're usually drafting higher, so they get the best arms. If you trade Skubal or Ryan and it's not good, you're going to lose your job. And I know this. This is something else I've talked to JP about. It's hard. You make a deal for one of these guys, it's never going to really be looked upon as good. And a lot of these guys' jobs will be on the line. New England Chris. Gray won 14 games for a bad Cardinals team and had over 200 Ks last season. He's an upgrade. Definitely an upgrade. Yeah, I know. That's the Giolito replacement. Your number 3 starter last year going into opening day was Walker Buehler. His track record was not good in the last couple of years, but we were all right with that. I think because he was a Dodger and he had some previous history. Gray, a much better track record coming in. That's totally cool, yeah. Does this move and or another frontline starter take some pressure off Bayo? Love your thoughts. I don't think so. I don't think players are wired that way. No, they go out there. There's pressure all the time. 4-game series with the Yankees. Doesn't matter what. If you think about it, doesn't matter where you are in the rotation. Aaron Judge, 4-game series. The 4th starter might have it the best because that could be actually game 1 or game 4. A lot of factors, but my point is that sometimes superstars won't play that first night in, coming off a day off to give them 2, or they'll be off Sunday with a travel day so they can get 2. But no, it doesn't matter one bit. You matter. Red Sox Now matters, presented by Fan Arch. I'm Mike. Subscribe on the way out. Follow me at The Radio Mike on social media. Have a great Friday. We'll be off for the weekend. Back at it Monday with Red Sox Now. And as always, go Sox.